And now, our Lieutenant Governor, Governor Michael Fedele.
Good evening. It's indeed a pleasure to be here this evening, and thank you for coming out on a cold February evening, I should say, before a snowstorm. Like Mark, I'd like to say a little bit about me. Maybe you might know a little bit about me, maybe you don't. But 51 years ago, I came to this country with my parents from Italy. We immigrated to the city of Stamford, which has been home. I went to the Stamford schools, went to schools here in Connecticut, started a business here in Connecticut and Stamford that grew to a national corporation, still serving customers throughout this country. In 1984, I served for 2 terms on the board, Stamford's Board of Representatives, which used to be very similar to your town council. Then in 1992 was elected to the Connecticut General Assembly from 1992 to 2002. Had many leadership positions in that capacity, on the ranking member on the Insurance and Real Estate Committee, on the Banks Committee, on the Workforce Development Committee, and left as an assistant minority leader in 2002. Went back to my business of 25 years, and in 2006 was asked by Governor Rell to join her as her Lieutenant Governor running mate. And when I think about the questions she asked me back then in 2006, and the questions that we should be asking the candidates today of why she was looking for a Lieutenant Governor candidate, I think it's very pertinent today. I don't think after the 4 of us speak up here that you're going to find much disagreement about what the priorities in Connecticut are. You've heard Mayor Boughton, and I'm sure you heard my colleagues to my left of me, that it's jobs, it's downsizing, streamlining government, it's customer service, it's gaining those efficiencies, because those are our Republican principles. Those are the things that we should all be running on. You're not going to get an argument about that we should have a legislature. I know what that means. I know what it means to sit at a table with the Democratic majority in Hartford, supermajorities actually in both chambers, and sitting across from the leadership and giving them common sense questions like, doesn't 1 + 1 equal 2? And they come back and say, no, it equals 4. And you say, well, why would it equal 4? It's always equal 2. And they say, because we have 104 votes and you don't. So it's important, as Mayor Boughton said, to elect a legislature that will support the next governor, to making sure that we don't have supermajorities in the Senate, that we don't have supermajorities in the House, so that way we can move our agenda. I think the question before you tonight, and the question before the voters in November of 2010 is going to be, what is going to be the capabilities, what is the background of the person who is running for governor, and what do they bring in order to solve these issues? And I have to tell you, I have been blessed with much experience in many different areas I mentioned. Talking about private industry, I've worked in private industry for over 25 years. I've created jobs. I created a national company providing services. I know what it takes to meet a payroll. I know what it takes to get the job done. In the public sector, in government, I've worked with private industry to create jobs. I can talk to specifics where that has occurred. One most recent one was back in 2007, where I, as the Chief Executive Officer of the state, traveled to Europe and met with companies to bring jobs here. And we brought, in that one trip, over 150 jobs to Connecticut. So I know how it needs to get done in government. I've sat in the executive office. I know what it takes to be governor, and I thank Governor Rupp for the opportunity she has given me to be Lieutenant Governor. But also, as you know, in any relationship, people don't always agree, and there's only one governor. And there are things that I would do different and will do different as governor as it comes to areas of holding the line on spending and taxes and things of that nature. And I've served in 10 years in the legislature, so I think it's important to understand that process. I think it's important to understand how the process of doing bills and committees work. It's important to understand the egos and the personalities that you deal with in negotiating. And I think the last thing I can talk about is my personal experience. You know, you'll hear throughout this campaign from many Republican candidates a common sense theme of, you know, not spending more than you make, not borrowing more than you can pay back. Very basic things that we've all learned. Those are things that I learned around my kitchen table with an immigrant family. The importance of all those things. So I thank you again, all of you, for being here tonight. I look forward to meeting you after this and speaking to you about your concerns and thoughts as we move forward in this election. Thank you.
And now the first of our 2 questions. And our candidates will each have 2 minutes to answer. We hear a lot that health care is a big drain on our state budget. Do you believe that the state government, sustenance, was passed last year, do you believe it is the right vehicle to deliver health care to state citizens and is cost-effective?
Thank you. At any point in time in the state of Connecticut, between 94 to 95% of our citizens have some form of health care coverage, be it through private pay, Medicare, Medicaid, our Husky programs, or through Charter Oak. So the issue that we're trying to resolve here in Connecticut is what I call the 5% issue, on 4 to 5%. And unlike the federal government, I think our approach to that should be to address that 4 to 5% and not throw the baby out with the bathwater in programs that many people are happy with. We're probably concerned about the cost, but the quality and accessibility of health care in Connecticut is far beyond better than many, many states and many nations. So sustenance will do nothing but add more zeros to the left of the decimal point of the deficit that's in the state. And the working taxpayer, middle-class families in the state will continue to pay for that. We cannot afford sustenance. That is why the governor vetoed it. That is why it was overridden. None of the legislation relating to health care that passed last year and then was vetoed by the governor helped that 5% issue. All it did was bring more people into a pool who had health care. And that is the wrong way to go. We need to, if we're serious about health care, to maintain the quality, the accessibility, and the affordability of health care, we need to look at that 5% in the realm of everything else, not throwing out of the other 95% and saying, well, that's bad for you because it's working for you. We've got a better plan. Sustenance is the first step towards a single-pay system, which is going to bankrupt the state and will not do anything to basically provide better, accessible, quality health care in the state of Connecticut.
Thank you, Governor. We hear a lot on our talk show in the afternoon on the Talk of Connecticut, callers calling the program, saying in the morning on the Brad Davis broadcast, it's okay when a candidate talks about reducing taxes or reducing the size of government, but what are the specifics? So, to that end, that is our second and final question to our candidates tonight.
Yes, thank you. One of the main differences, Tom said earlier, he's not an inside politician, doesn't have experience, but you just can't say, I'm going to cut $1 billion. Because if you can say that, why not say we're going to cut $2 billion? What you need to do is look at the agencies and look at where those cuts need to go. And I will agree with everyone here that there are efficiencies that we can garner by consolidation. There are also efficiencies that we can garner by outsourcing opportunities. For instance, in the area of social services, I have seen, in my role as Lieutenant Governor, where private providers in the community provide a better service at less cost than state government does. We need to look at more of that. There are many different things, but just to say, well, here's what we're going to do is cut. We all understand there needs to be cutting, and we need to understand that in order to do that, you have to drill down. You have to prioritize what's there. It's not only through downsizing, it's looking at programs and saying, where are we getting our best bang for the bucks? Where can we maybe spend those same dollars or less, but outsource it to someone else? Where can we work with the unions? I know they're very concerned about their pension program, because if we can't fund those programs, they aren't going to get their pension. We can go bankrupt. And the important thing here is we need to work with them and the people in the state government to provide those services. So I agree with everyone here, we have to cut spending, but just to throw an arbitrary number out there doesn't do it. You can do that in business and hope it works, but in government you need to take the business component of it along with the legislative component, as I mentioned, understanding how it works to come up with the best solution going forward.
Thank you, Governor.